record here. All right. Last Minute Man coming to you from the woods. I'm with my good buddy, Mr. Obvious. And Mr. Obvious, what are we discussing today?
Defense and home defense.
Yeah, just securing your property. We had a subscriber of ours, Swedson, and he was curious what our opinion was on home defense, you know, how to secure a perimeter of your home, that kind of thing. And, you know, I just thought I'd give my 2 cents on it. We had an awesome video planned for you with a 300 Win Mag. And we got out here and we have 30-mile-an-hour winds on top of the ridges here on my property. So we opted out today. We said it'd be pointless. We wouldn't be able to show you anything. The wind be tossing us all over the place. So we're down here in a valley that's on my property, and this is an area I'm clearing off, and we're looking at opening it up, and you know, this is probably about 6 acres down here that I'm going to open, and it's, you know, keep bigger trees and cut down the little scraggly stuff, and it'll look really nice when I'm done.
Yeah, get us another little range down here when we do have high winds.
Yeah, so we're hoping to get like probably a 200-yard shot out here would be feasible. And like I said, we're down here in a bottom, so you can't hear anything, and it's a lot nicer.
Yeah.
So, but anyway, so back to the topic of conversation, and home defense, personal defense, perimeter defense. You know, there's a lot to talk about there.
Home defense, I mean, there's a lot of different things you can do for home defense. A lot of different strategies you can use.
Right.
Different systems you can run in your house and all kinds of stuff.
Yeah, a lot of people think, you know, security cameras and a gun. You know, that's what they want. They want security cameras set up around the perimeter of their home and every entrance at least. Yeah. And they've got their, whatever your personal home defense weapon is, whatever your choice is for that, you got to pick what works best for you. For me, it's a shotgun. But to each their own. People have different preferences on that. And but I want to say, you know, when it comes to security cameras, I mean, that's really good at filming the crime taking place.
Yeah.
You know, you get a good look, but it's in modern times has not become a deterrent. I mean, we're seeing a lot of people in cities and stuff getting attacked. There was a guy just a few weeks ago out in California, lived in a gated community, was walking into his front door, and a guy attacked him from behind. He threw his coffee at him and drew down, had a firearm. The guy did an excellent job. But now there's plenty of video evidence to take his concealed carry away from him, apparently, in the state of California. Yeah. So it kind of works both ways. I'm glad he got out of that and everything was good. But yeah, you know, security cameras at one time were a deterrent, and I think they are for some people. You know, if you put "Smile, you're on camera," you know what? That's enough to deter, you know, some people, but really only an honest criminal. Yeah. Yeah, really. I mean, they're afraid of the repercussions of what they're doing. So, yeah, a camera, I'm not going to say it doesn't do anything. Of course it helps. But there's some people getting pretty darn bold out there. Yeah. And, you know, the cameras don't seem to be working. So what does work? Well,
good Doberman Pinscher work. A good German Shepherd.
The number one thing, though, in my opinion, is location. 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 Number 1, 2, and 3 there. Where you live matters. Yeah. And you know, you got to figure a given population, there's a certain percentage of the population that's criminal. There's a criminal element whether you live in a town of 1,000 people or live in a town of 5 million. You know, a percentage of that population has the propensity to be a criminal, and a smaller percentage of those people have a propensity to be violent criminals. Although we're seeing that getting more and more opened up these days. A lot of the crime that you see in the United States anyway is recidivist. So what happens is you get a guy, he breaks into a home and steals stuff. Well, he goes to jail. Well, they let him out 3 months later. Dude goes out, breaks into another home. Maybe this time he stabs somebody. They put him back in jail. Year and a half later, he's out. You know, so that same guy is, how many times does he have to, you know, commit a crime before we say you're a menace to society and need to stay there? I don't know, but that's getting political, and I don't really know the answers. I say, you know, everybody makes a mistake, but now the moment you violate someone's rights, you lose all yours. You know, when you violate the sovereignty of someone's home and come in to cause them harm or steal what they've earned, I think you ought to be locked away.
Yep.
You know.
Yep. Need to be put up.
But since that's not happening, especially in some of these major cities where the vast majority of Americans live, and I'm looking at this as American statistics because I think it's applicable probably to any Western culture or any first world country. The kind of things I'm talking about here are probably similar where you live. But here in the United States, we have roughly, they say, according to the Census Bureau, and I'll post that up on screen, roughly 20% of the American population lives in rural areas. I read another study that was more like 14%, which would be roughly 46 million Americans live in what they deem as being a rural area. I consider rural, my definition is your nearest neighbor's a mile away. Okay, you're pretty rural in that situation. Yeah. A low population density, a lot of land around you, a lot of open land around you. And in that case, in that situation, sure, there's still a criminal element even here where I live. I'm sure there's people doing bad things, but they don't have anonymity here. Everyone knows everyone. Okay, so if a guy's breaking into my car and I see him, it's somebody I probably know. So yeah. It's a little different dynamic in a small community. Like I said, everybody knows everybody. They know what you drive. They know what you look like. They know where you live. So, and that keeps everybody pretty polite too. You know, when you know that there's consequences to your actions. You know, I'm not, you know, I grew up in northern Kentucky, which is heavily populated, dense city. And, you know, sitting at a red light, somebody may just flick you off for the heck of it. You know, there's weird people in cities and they're just angry at the world, I guess. But, you know, they'll flick you off, cuss you out. Well, they know there's no repercussions. You're not going to jump out in moving traffic or anything. You know, and they know they can get away with it. They have anonymity. You know, you can hide in a crowd very easily. That's one of the reasons I had to get out of the cities. When I got out of the military, I was involved in firefights and combat overseas, and my mind, it just changes the way your brain kind of works. And I don't like scenarios and situations where I have no control. When I say no control, if I'm eating in a restaurant and they seat me with my back to the door, that's a no-go, man. I can't do that, you know. But you know, do you want to be the guy in the group, that guy that makes everybody have to move and stuff? So, you know, it's things like that. I chose to leave all that behind and come out to the country where I feel a lot more secure. I have a lot more control over my environment. And, you know, law enforcement and everything out here kind of sees things the way I see it. You know, if somebody breaks into your home and they're trying to do you harm, they're bought and paid for. You know, That's the state of Kentucky in general. Very conservative state, very gun-friendly state. And, if you break into someone's home meaning to do people harm,
you're in trouble.
Yeah, no one's surprised that you got shot. They'd be shocked that you didn't.
Yeah, they'd be shocked.
You know, just being out in the country doesn't mean you're safe. However, I believe you have a lot more control over your environment, and we're starting to get rain.
Yeah, it's starting to drizzle.
Yeah, you can't control that. Well, what say you, Mr. Obvious?
Oh, I say, you're looking for defense around your house. Know your house. Stage yourself in your house. Think, walk around, look. Where would I do? How would I move through the house, around the house?
Could you move around with no light?
Yeah.
Do you know where everything's at?
Do you need a light? Do you need a weapon with a light on it? Something like that. Can I hide behind the refrigerator if somebody wants to have a gun? returning fire? Can you get behind a big couch? Or
Yeah. Know the difference
You know,
between cover and concealment.
Yep.
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know.
A couch, a sofa's not going to stop a gun.
No.
A refrigerator might stop a handgun round.
It'll slow
Yeah.
it down. It'll probably still go through it, but
Yeah. But,
Yeah.
you know, there's things like that to consider. But also, like I said, location is so important. And I understand not everybody can do that.
Yeah.
There wouldn't be any rural areas if everybody in America wanted to own 2 acres or something. You
Yeah.
know, it couldn't be done. So I'm glad there's people that love to live in the city because that, you know, one less person I have to contend with. But I know that sounds terrible, but that's kind of the way I think. But if you do live in a city, and that's the vast majority of people, live in a city or a town or a community like the suburbs, you know, what can you do? Security cameras obviously are something that you need to have. A firearm is an essential. A good dog, I believe, is an essential. A network, a plan. Knowing who you can contact if something did happen. You know, we've had situations here in Kentucky where a blizzard hit, and that was, I think the last one was 1977, but people were without power for a month.
yeah.
And, you know, that's a security risk for you. You know, you're going to freeze to death. So, because most city homes are heated with electric heat. Some of them are natural gas, I believe. My house in northern Kentucky that I had was natural gas. And, you know, but, you know, so your heat can go out, you know, if you've got a network of people, you can help each other out. You know, that's something that we're missing in society today is accountability and looking out for each other. Knowing what needs your neighbor has, getting the people around you up to speed with, you know, backup generator, storing food in their pantry, having canned goods, things like that. That's a big help too, because I've stated this before on this channel, 3 missed meals and society begins to eat itself. So it behooves you to know your neighbors and know what they're lacking and kind of put a bug in their ear. Hey man, you know, we just went through this pandemic, you know, look how quickly everything just went nuts during the whole COVID fiasco, and people were ransacking the grocery stores and just nothing was on the shelf, and you had supply chain cut downs because people weren't working. So, you know, you should have 3 months of food on hand.
Yeah.
And that's a big security thing as well. You know, having food on hand, having basic medical supplies. In my mind, everybody should have a tourniquet. You know, you should have tourniquets. You should have like Israeli bandages, things like that. Quick clot is a great thing to have. You know, any medications that you need, you got to be aware of that. Do you need something like insulin? I mean, that's life or death right there. You know, so it's all, you can't plan for everything, but you can set yourself up for success. And if we're talking basic security, someone breaking in the door, there's not much more that you can do than have a good camera system, have a good dog, and have a gun.
Yeah.
You know, because when the police are needed right now, they're only minutes away. So, you know, making a phone call is not going to save your life. You got to have the competency and capability to engage a threat if you need to.
Yeah.
And that's a big point as well.
Yeah, you can install your own security systems. You can buy too, and it's got big sirens on it, and
Yeah.
you know, you can hook them to automatically dispatch the police or something. You don't actually have to have that. The biggest thing is have several sirens out there.
Yeah,
and
alerting you.
They got panic buttons on them.
Yeah.
You can add a panic button, hit it, them sirens will start going off all around your house,
And if you live in a
making
neighborhood,
a lot of noise.
all your neighbors are going to wake up.
Yep.
You know, and maybe that's a good thing.
Yep.
Maybe they'll help you. Maybe they won't. It depends on where you live, I guess. But and again, establishing that network of communication with your neighbors, knowing your neighbors, accountability. That's a big deal. You know, Mr. Obvious has some neighbors, and something I've noticed he does, and it's a wonderful thing. Somebody needs help. He's a classically trained mechanic. He knows how to work on just about anything electrical, and he goes over and helps neighbors all the time, don't you?
Yeah.
And that's going to pay radical dividends for you. You know, you're making friends that way, if there's something you can do that's not really, I'm not saying go spend $500 helping out your neighbor, but if it's something you can do, you know, helping them move furniture or something, kind of create those friendships. You know, and then when times get rough, you know, you can talk to each other. You establish that rapport. You can communicate, and you know, communication's another thing. You know, I just now got into the whole CB thing, and Mr. Always really knows his stuff on that. And I think that's a good idea. Have a backup line of communication.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
You know,
It's good to have always communication. Like say, you can even communicate with your neighbors, see what's going on down the street, stuff like
Oh,
that.
yeah.
You know.
yeah. Well, and you know, so that's kind of my thoughts on an urban environment, how to defend yourself. You know, I'm not going to say go get steel bars on your windows and you know, a fireproof door or anything like that.
Even though it might help.
Yeah, but you don't want to live in a prison.
Yeah.
I had a friend of mine in the military, and he was Jamaican, and he was telling me how much he loved America, you know, and obviously he joined the U.S. Army and was a citizen. But he was telling me in Jamaica, he said you have to lock yourself in your home at night. He said it's like a prison, and you're locking yourself up. He said you got bars on the windows, and you got a steel door. He said because they took everyone's guns away, and he said the only people that have guns are the bad guys. He said so you've got to lock yourself. He said essentially you're in a jail cell.
Yeah.
You know, it's prison, and that's the way. Well, I mean, look at these cities like New York and stuff. I mean, it's gotten outrageous during the BLM riots. Yeah, people's apartment complexes and stuff were getting raided. Doors were getting kicked in, and people were very, very much afraid. And I think they had a perfectly reasonable assumption that they should be.
Yeah.
And that's why you're seeing firearm sales just skyrocket going. I mean, suddenly everyone's, even people that probably were more leaning towards anti-gun are starting to get firearms now.
Yep.
So,
Had a record sales Black Friday.
Yeah,
I think record
it was
sales
record
here
sales.
in the U.S.
which and I'm all for that. I'm happy to see people are taking their own safety or their safety into their own hands, as well as exercising a God-given right to self-defense. And I think that is a wonderful thing. Now, as far as training is concerned with that, okay, I'm of the mindset that training is not required to have that gun. You don't have to do it, but it's a good idea to. I think you really need to, at the very least, go to a range and practice. Go practice with that firearm, understand how to manipulate it. If you have a credible instructor in your area, definitely seek that out. I think it's a good thing to have. And when I say credible, okay, I've heard some silly stuff. All right, and I'll bring one up. A friend of ours went to a guy to take firearms instruction, I believe. And the instructor told him, if you ever have to shoot anybody, make sure you defecate on yourself and urinate on yourself when the police get there. Why? Oh, you got to convince them you were scared. What? That's the dumbest thing I've ever heard in my life.
Yeah.
If an instructor's telling you something like that, ask for your money back and leave. Say, buddy, I want my money back. You're an imbecile. All right. You know, it's probably a good idea to have some.
Well, you might need that in California, but you don't need that here.
No, you don't need it anywhere.
No.
You have a right to defend yourself. If
You got
someone's
the
in
right.
your home, I'd rather be judged by 12 than carried by 6. Take me to court. I'm confident that I'm going to win.
Yeah.
Because it's just you're wasting everybody's time taking me to court. If I shoot somebody in my home who's threatening me, like I said, bought and paid for.
Yep.
You know, and that's just the way I feel. And I'm sure a jury would see it my way, especially in Kentucky.
Yeah.
Anti-gunners own guns in Kentucky.
Yeah.
So it's you know, it's just the way things are. It's we live in bizarre times though. Whew, gosh. But yeah, definitely get training. Know how to manipulate your firearm. Whether it's going out and practically shooting yourself, going to the range and shooting. You know, out here we've got hundreds of acres around us, so we can shoot high-powered rifles, and that bullet's never going to land anywhere where it would hurt somebody. but and we do that. Well, we always shoot into a bank here, but yeah, you see us shooting all the time. Not everybody has that, and I understand that. But go to a range. There's got to be a range close to you. I've heard people say, "Well, I can't afford the ammo." I've had friends of mine tell me that. "Well, I can't afford the ammo to shoot like you do." No, I don't have cable television. The only internet I have is operating off a hotspot on my phone. That's the only internet I have. I don't pay. I reduce my bills as much as possible because the priority to me is firearms and training and tractors and rock saws and things like that.
Food storage. Yeah.
Food storage. Be wise on where you spend your money. Do you need the most up-to-date designer jeans? If that's your thing, man. But out here, like where I live in these rural areas, trust me, no one cares. No one gives a damn what clothes you got on.
No.
Don't smell bad.
Yeah.
I mean, have some couth and have good hygiene. But as far as the kind of clothes you wear, nobody gives a damn.
Yeah.
They are not impressed. You can be a peacock and fluff your feathers out all you want. Nobody cares. And I love that. I love that out here. Just the attitude of the people is completely different than up in town. Everybody's, you got to have the loudest music in your car. If it's not shaking, 3 cars over or people passing in the in the opposite direction, if it's not shaking the car, it ain't loud enough, don't you know?
Yeah. Oh well.
But yeah, and a friend of mine that says he can't afford ammo has speaker systems like that. So yeah, how about you sell that crap and get you some ammunition and train? Because at that point, it's just negligence, dude.
Yeah.
What's important to you? How serious are you about your protection? So you got to train, and that's all there is to it. You've got to be competent with your firearm. You don't have to be John Rambo. I'm not saying that. I'm not saying, because I've said this before too. Little old ladies have defended their homes with double-barrel shotguns for years. I mean, they seem to be able to use them just fine, but know how to use it. Know where the business end is. And understand how to aim, how to shoot. That you need to understand basic fundamentals. And if you've got no experience with it, you've never held one in your life, I would highly recommend taking a class from somebody. And like I said, find somebody reputable. Somebody who I've mentioned on this channel before is Valor Ridge and Reed Herricks, and I watch a lot of his videos. And he's a former Marine. Guy's very intelligent, and I've seen some of his training videos, and they're excellent. The very practical stuff. He's teaching very practical maneuvering, basic maneuvers and things like that, and getting your heart rate elevated and operating your firearm with an elevated heart rate. That's why we do the run and gun videos. That's simulating that, because you can't simulate combat. Okay, there's nothing like it. When someone's shooting at you, you can train for years, as I did, and I've seen people in combat freeze. I've seen guys drop to the ground and laugh hysterically. I've seen guys they turn white and cannot move. I have seen that on multiple occasions. Just seen people, Then I saw one guy who was crying while he was firing back. At least he was doing his job, but it was an involuntary reaction. And you kind of, there's no way to simulate that. You're not going to simulate what that's like when someone's shooting back at you. You can get the muscle memory down, you can do all the training, but the closest thing you can get to it would be like competition shooting, putting in a shot clock, trying to beat your last time and shoot and put bullets on target. That's simulating some stress. So you're racing the clock and elevating your heart rate.
Yeah.
Getting your heart rate elevated to where you're sweating and you're tired. Drop down and do 50 push-ups, hop up, fire your gun. I know that sounds weird, but it's true. Add in a level of stress, some fatigue.
Yeah. Well, they're making stuff now that you can buy. People can't afford ammunition, like you was talking about.
Oh, yeah.
They advertise on the radio all the time, Mantis X. You can buy that. It goes in your gun. It's a blank. It teaches you to point. It gives you a score till you keep getting better and better.
It's something to do.
Something
yeah.
you might look at. I mean,
Yeah, and I've never used it.
I ain't either.
But it's kind of like when the military would pull out what they called miles gear. We all, are you serious? Yeah, it's basically it's laser tag with an,
Yeah.
with your M16, and you put like a insert on the end. You're shooting blanks.
Yeah.
And you put an insert on the end, and it's like a laser. You're playing laser tag, and yeah, I got real smart eventually and just took the batteries out of the vest. I never got shot.
yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, it's impossible to, like I said, to really simulate that horrible day if it ever does happen to you, and God forbid it does. But somebody breaking into your home, you're tired, you're in bed, you know, you're getting woke up because the dog's barking or your alarm's going off, and you can't see what's in front of you.
Yeah.
You know, do you have children? That probably be your first thought. You know, you want to go check on the kids. And, you know, if you do have to grab a firearm and use it, where's that in relation to where your kids sleep? You know, these are all things that you got to consider. And it's a lot. It's a lot. And you got to make these decisions fast.
Yeah.
And that's why I say the best thing you can do is like a run and gun scenario, or I've even seen where they have some of these training courses, you'll be laying under blankets and you got to get up, get to your firearm. And then if you're one of those people, or you live in a municipality where they require you to keep your firearm locked up at all times, which is the dumbest thing I've ever heard. But that's apparently something that's in some areas, or people think that should. Yeah, good luck. Get up, undo your safe, get to your firearm. You know, I don't know what your situation is. I'm not saying that what's right for me is right for everybody, but my shotgun, I keep a 45 next to my bed and my shotgun loaded next to my bed as well. And I've got another shotgun by the door.
Yep.
In my bedroom. So yeah, if I have to get up and get to things quick, you know, stumble, fumble around, I can get to it. But I'm different. You know, no one's gonna say I'm a normal guy or anything. You know, even a lot of real defense-oriented people, I've seen where, well, when I'm working on my property, I don't carry a gun. I always have a firearm. Always. I'm like 7-Eleven. I may not always be doing business, but I'm always open. You know, I'm always ready for business if I need to.
Yeah.
And that's, everyone needs to be. You should always, I'm out here, you know, doing improvements to my land, and I'm operating a chainsaw, and it is difficult to have a 1911 on your hip operating a chainsaw. So I keep my AR, which is in the rock store here, I keep it within 2 steps of me. I can get to that AR. So if I'm out here cutting, I'll set it by a tree and I'll do some work and whatnot, but I'm always within 2 steps I can get to that. And that's the way I've trained myself. And running into a situation out here is highly unlikely. So, and
Yeah,
another
very
thing, living out in a rural area like this, I've got a lot of field and stuff around my home. It's cleared. I can see for 530 yards in any direction around me. So it's kind of hard to sneak up, you know, kind of like Fort Knox. They got a big open area.
Yeah.
Any military base is going to be that way because you're in plain sight.
Yeah. He ain't sneaking in.
So anything to add, Mr. Obvious? I mean, we talked a lot.
Yeah.
Or I talked a
We
lot.
covered a lot. You talked a lot.
Yeah.
He's
I'm
a
good at
talker.
that.
He's a
I'm good at
talker,
that.
ain't he?
I'm good at that.
I just let you go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's best to let me finish. he's learning. No, but seriously, anything that you want to add to that? Is
No,
there
I mean,
anything?
that covers most of it. I mean, like I said, the camera system, guns, dogs, knowing your situation, knowing your house, your surroundings, how to move through it, inside, outside the house, around
Good
the
point.
house, building, like you said, staging your guns in different spots you can get to, ammunition, stuff like that.
Yeah, and also if you do have children and like my nephews come over and stay with me sometimes. Now my oldest nephew, he's 16. He's and I've been working with him since he was 8 years old, shooting. I'll integrate a video where I was teaching him to shoot in here. But yeah, I mean, I worked with him a lot over the years. My youngest nephew, I'm going to be working with. Of course, they both live up in town. They live in the suburbs of Cincinnati, basically. up there. So when they come down here, it's like a whole nother world to them. You know, they love this.
Yeah. Anybody in your house with you, got children, wives, everything
Let
in there,
them understand the fire.
let them know what's going on, and if they do hear shots in the middle of the night, hit the floor.
Duck
Lay
and cover.
flat. Lay flat on the floor.
Yeah.
Don't stand up, be in line of fire. So
Yeah.
let the man
Well,
go to work, do
and
what he's got
also-
to do to clear the house.
And also, I wanted to reiterate, my nephews know full well what to do if they see a gun. If they see a gun in my home, it's loaded.
Yeah, don't touch it.
There's no such thing as an unloaded firearm, you know. So these are, and actually the NRA had a really good, and my oldest nephew, I did this with him when he was, 4 years old. It was, I think it was Eddie the Eagle, and it was an NRA, and you know, he had a little dance, you know, stop, take 3 steps back, leave the room, get an adult, you know, if you come across a firearm. And, you know, I put that in them young, so they know what to do. Just don't touch it. You know, and because curiosity, little boys are curious. I know I was when I was a kid. Trust me. You know, if I can sneak and pick up a gun, I was going to do it. You know, and luckily my dad caught me when I was a kid, and I learned a lesson that day.
Yep.
You know, but after that, I knew better. But I try to keep that from ever being an issue. You know, train your kids on the firearms too. Take the mystery out of it. Let them understand how dangerous it is. That's why hunting is a good thing. It's a wonderful thing. You know, not only are you providing food and sustenance for your home, but you're seeing life and death there. You know, what is required for you to eat. You know, when you're eating that hamburger, where'd it come from? You know, something's dying. I don't care if you're eating vegetables, folks. Something's dying when they're processing that. Okay, they got big combines going out and getting the corn and the wheat, and rabbits get chopped up in that and everything else. So, you know, I'm sick of hearing this. You're killing an animal. Trust me, your vegan diet's killing animals too. So, all right, well,
About it. We're getting
about
along.
it. We're getting way too long. So, with that, everybody, remember, keep your knives sharp, keep your powder dry.
Subscribe to Last Minute Man and watch us on
Rumble.